I would do some research into how do people deal with extremely stressful situations? What is a breathing exercise? Have you ever done one? Right. And use that in your normal everyday, and things will get a lot easier. So for me, when it comes to dealing with the stress of the hate and everything, I take it to the extreme of it. It's not as bad as it could be.
Last week in the Three Amigos, at the very end, if you stayed to the very end, we dropped a task or a question for you. I said, hey, let us know what your questions are, and you will drive the conversation next week. Well, folks, you didn't disappoint. Lots of you watched to the very end, and lots of you asked amazing questions. We will get into question number one in a minute, but let's first welcome everyone. Dion, how you doing?
Howdy, I'm doing great. I think it's great when people make it to the end of the video, because that question was asked right after Matt flashed the camera, and you don't get to see that unless you stay till the end.
Exactly. The
Talk about
carpet's too much the drapes. There you
Yeah,
go.
talk about wanting to stop the video a minute and a half short.
Matthew, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Day 2 of retirement at home after a trip. Taking vacations before, never taken a trip before, but now day 2 of retirement. Still start out my morning with CNBC with Becky Joe and that putz Andrew. Living the dream. Just had breakfast with my wife. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you will find a whole new routine. It will be
Oh.
amazing. And I look forward to being a little fly in the wall as we talk every week. So here we go. This question is from JT, a bunch of letters. It doesn't matter. I understand we only want to do great deals and that we may offer well below list price. But how do you know if it's no longer worth even putting in an offer, as you don't want to offend realtors and sellers? Is there a percentage, 20, 30, of list price that you should tell us that there is no point even trying? Would appreciate if you could answer. Dion, go first.
So there's two ways of looking at this. One, there's a mental math exercise we run through on when was the property listed, right? How and then compared to, and I don't like to use average or medium home prices in your area. I would say compared to the mode. What are the most houses priced at in your area? Is that above or below that? And is there a reason to that property? Does it have a pool? Does it have a shop? Does it have something that can make it an outlier, right? Because it's the outliers that can mess up all of the statistics. So if it's a new listing, a low offer can make sense if it's just ridiculously overpriced and you know it, and you think other people are going to wait for it to come down. You could be the first one in. Have that sunk cost theory going on when the person realizes, I need to lower this, but I've already got an offer kind of where I was thinking of lowering it to. So we run through all of that. Then there's how many days on market. The more days on market, the more likely a low offer is to make sense, because there's something there that other investors aren't liking, or other home buyers aren't liking. And I went with the metric of, in our local area, generally houses are listed for 90 days. If it's on over 90 days, it was relisted. So I set my search up at 91 days. Everything that was 91 days or longer, they have relisted. They obviously didn't get the offers they were looking for. And then the thing when it comes to, do you want to insult your agent, is, have you had the conversation? Right? You don't just tell your agent, hey, this place is at 500,000. I want to offer 4. Right? It's most of these houses are going for 350. This one's nicer. They want 5. I want to start with 4 and see where we're at. Or it's been on the market 147 days. I'm going to offer 4. If they take it, great. If not, I'm probably just going to walk away. And the agent goes, okay, it's worth the probably 20 minutes. Get all the docs in the right order, put in all the information, verify everything, because it's not a super easy thing. I mean, if you've been doing it as long as Beth, right, they can do it in their sleep, but it's still at least 10, 20 minutes. Is that a real waste of their time? And if they think it's a waste of their time, because the agent has to protect their reputation too.
Sure.
And if that agent is known for making super low offers, but a low offer with an email that says, my client came to me and said, based on how many days this is on market and have the extent of the work that they think it needs, here's the offer that makes sense to them, they can put that in the email. So that's kind of the process I go through when thinking through that question.
Yeah. Matt, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the only thing that I would add is, since this is the Do the Work channel, the only thing that I would add is do some work and make sure there's upside to the asset. Make sure that it is, it's Henderson, Las Vegas adjacent. It's Summerlin, Las Vegas adjacent, right? There's some value add there where there's an intrinsic value that quite frankly, most people will not pick up on. Do the work to understand what that is. It might be in an area that allows for zoning for an ADU. Know what your cities allow for ADUs. When you know what that zoning is going to be required to get the ADU, you can talk to your code enforcement agency like I teach in my course. Here's how you talk to code enforcement. Here's how you talk to zoning. You have those conversations. That way, when I'm making an offer, I can make a good offer. I can make one that's under market price, but that's a spectacular deal for me because there's a value add component there that other people haven't done the time, done the work to understand and know.
Yeah. The thing that I will say here, just to add on to all of that is, I got a couple of things. First off, if your agent that you're working with doesn't want to write the offer, you know what I do? I just call the listing agent. I call the listing agent and and to Dion's point, I tell them why, right? You don't just write a low offer to write a low offer.
Correct.
That's not doing the work. Frankly, that's
right.
being lazy and
Lazy.
you should be ignored. But if you could go in and say, hey, this property's at 500, I want to write it at 350, but it's been listed this long. The 1 bedroom, it says it's a 4-bedroom, but it's really a 3-bedroom with a den, right? So it's the small footprint. And oh, by the way, the backyard goes up to the train tracks, right? If you have a list of reasons why, and your agent you work with on the as your buying agent doesn't want to write it, go to the listing agent. Second, I want to particularly call out it, and I actually had my team. You guys know I have these gold cards and black cards. I had my team just create a purple card. I've already ordered it, Vistaprint. Yep, there's the black card. So the Vistaprint is coming. And what the purple card is going to be for is writing your first great offer.
Nice.
Some folks have a mental roadblock. Perhaps it's JT, right? He's doing the work, he's doing the math, and oh my God, nothing works unless I go 25% below list price. Who cares? Write the offer. You have to get to a point where you put pen to paper or, whatever, computer, and write the offer. Sometimes writing an offer that goes nowhere just unleashes your ability to do it again. So if it is your first offer, you've been doing the work for 90 days or 4 months, you feel like you know your market, and you got to write an offer 40% below list price to be a great deal, and you've never written an offer before, write the offer. Just write the offer.
Right.
Break the seal.
Yep.
All right. Very cool. Question number 2. And again, folks, we're doing this because folks stayed to the end of last week's Three Amigos. This question came from Oculus One. Question for Amigos next week. As a cash flow investor no longer looking to grow, what characteristics would you look for in a deal to sell a property and hold the note? Matt, have you ever thought about doing that?
So I just did one where I'm holding the note. Well, the reason that I did was because I could give favorable financing terms. And so I could have sold the property outright. I could have then 1031. I didn't actually like any of the things that I was going to have to 1031 into. All the stuff that was on the market was overpriced, doesn't really cash flow. And I'm not going to take all the money that I made on one deal and put it into another deal that I don't really like.
Right.
So the best approach for me was to say that was a whole convoluted process. It was 2 buildings on the same lot. I ended up basically subdividing and taking all the debt and putting it on another asset that I owned. So I was able to sell the asset. I took paper, but what it did was it gave me the ability to compete with the bank. The bank was going to offer 5-year debt. I could offer 30-year debt. I could get a 20% deposit. The bank was requiring 25%. So I just made sure to beat them at every metric. And so at the end of the day, I walk with a $200,000 deposit, which I can then use, and only that amount is taxable. But I carried the paper on the property, and I carried at 8% which is on a 30-year amortization schedule as opposed to a 25-year or 20-year amortization schedule. So the guy's payment is lower.
Yeah.
And I was able to put in a prepayment penalty that was just like the bank. So the only thing that I offered that was just like the bank was a prepayment penalty. Everything else was better. It was 30-year debt instead of 20-year debt. It was fixed rate debt instead of adjustable rate debt. And if he wants to refi out of it, it's going to cost him anywhere from 5 to 3% to get out of it.
Yeah. I like that. Deanne, any thoughts on this question?
I have an evil diabolical plan.
Oh no, I'm not sure you want to share it on this channel. Let's do it on yours. I'm just kidding.
So, so I plan on never selling anything, right? I hope that all my properties perform better than all of my marriages, actually until death do us part. But, right, so I'll put an and in there.
Mhm.
I have an amazing friend, and I'm super glad that this guy's in my life. Like, I don't know that he would be in my life if it wasn't for real estate and YouTube.
Mm.
I met Millennial Mike through this network, and he's becoming one of my closest friends. Like, I just like the guy. It's weird. I don't like that many people. And so he was,
I
he was
understand. I'm with you.
Yeah, I get
okay.
you.
I get
He's
it.
basically was turning 30 when I was turning 50. And my kids they don't currently show any interest in real estate, right?
Right.
They might in the future, but I don't think they will. And so let's progress it forward 20 years, because the chronology of investing also includes our age, not just how long
course.
we've been investing. And when I'm 70, I might want to step away from real estate as an active investor, even though it's super easy to do by myself. I can do it all over the phone via texting. But if my depreciation schedules are pretty much gone, the appreciation is there. I think I'm going to seller finance the entire lot to Mike. He'll be 50, I'll be 70.
Mm.
I'll get a 30-year note, so I'm probably not going to live to 100. And
Right.
so my kid, there you go. It'd be nice if we could, but we're not going to. Cheer for
How
myself.
how does that happen? Anybody know how that happens? That's
So
really
it's Google AI. This is the fireworks. This is thumbs up. It'll only do it so many won't overwhelm you. But yeah, so I can show you how to turn yours on later off camera.
nice. Okay.
But it never does it when you want to. It's like when you're like in the middle of a serious thought and it's like, oh, yeah, I'm thumbs upping them. Sorry, your uncle died, but
Yeah.
because your hand was up. But yeah, so that's my thing. It'll be a 30-year note, fixed rate debt. It'll be what Mike wants. It'll be a price that he wants, a payment he can afford. I'll have payments to carry me through the end of my retirement, and then my kids will get the inheritance of those payments to the end of the notes. If they want the lump sum, they can sell the notes that they're
Yep.
carrying for him.
Yep.
So all of those options do show up, and understand the chronology of investing includes your age.
Yeah, I think that it's funny how you both nailed exactly how I looked at this question. I do have some problem properties. Every year I look at our properties. I look at the bottom one and I decide what to do. Just like Matt kind of broke down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell this. I have, X amount of equity. First thing I look for is, can I 1031? Is there anything that I like that's materially better? If not, okay. I could sell it and just pay the taxes if I have somewhere else I want to deploy that capital. I'm not opposed to paying taxes if that's the right option. And then third, it's like I have nothing I can 1031 into. I have nothing that needs several $100,000. Let me sell a note, just like you did, 30-year paper. I probably do interest only or whatever, but all these things definitely have a prepayment. So again, it really is stage of life kind of question. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, here's a question from Serge. I'm going to forget it, just Serge. Question, looking to give an offer to my brother's neighbor. It's an old folk living there alone. Distressed property. How should I approach this situation? Should I involve an agent or go about a private sale? Assuming it will be a first-time purchase with a bank mortgage. P.S. This is Dion's neighborhood, Pierce County. Since it's your neighborhood, Dion, we'll let you go first this time.
So there are a lot of properties that we can approach the seller that might make sense as a seller finance, but we have to understand the property itself. What's the current debt on the property, right? The things that you need to find out to see if this can be a seller carry, if you're going to have to go through a bank and get your mortgage. So all of that's going to happen. If it's a person living there, is this a tenant or is this the owner, right? If it's a tenant, will it make sense with rents a little bit below area average? Or does it need to get area average rents, which means you're going to have to displace a tenant for the deal to make sense? If it's the owner, what kind of lease back could you offer that might make it easier for them to consider the sale if this is where they're living? Although sometimes a lump sum of money might solve their problems within a few months. So you could do a 90-day lease back if they move out in a certain amount of time. I think most investors are going to say don't use an agent, just approach them. I've involved an agent every time I've approached people with a seller finance pitch. But it's because I'm trying to grow a real estate portfolio and I'm happy that my agent makes a commission and wants to bring me the next deal. My last couple of deals came because my agent reached out and said, I know I sent you like 30 properties to look at, but did you look at this one? This one hits everything you're looking for, right? That kind of attention comes from involving them. But if I was just starting out and I think that every dollar mattered more. I might just approach the seller. If that's the thing is this listed or is this
Yeah,
just a
see,
neighbor, right?
yeah, when I saw this question, there's no reason to involve an agent. You have no idea if this guy's even interested in selling. He's an
Exactly.
owner. That's what I assume from the question. But lots of people live in disrepair properties for a long time. So I think you just got to go up to the door, knock, tell them the situation. Hey, my brother lives over here. I'm looking to buy a house next to my brother. Have you ever thought about selling? And be prepared for, no, I'm not
No.
selling. Your brother's a
Mhm.
jerk. You know, he plays his music too loud, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you have no idea what this, I mean, just I think new investors sometimes incorrectly assume that all rundown properties mean the owner's in trouble.
Correct.
And here's one caution before I turn it over to Matt. So before joining the Marines, my family all runs tree services, and I was this guy called the estimator. I'd go out and estimate jobs, bid jobs. Or when we were working in the neighborhood, I was that annoying guy that would come up and knock on your door and say, "Hey, 2 houses down, we're doing some work. Just like to know we're in the area, you can get a discount if we work today," kind of thing, right? That happens all the time. Early on, I made the mistake of saying the things I noticed at the house that could be done.
Mm-hmm.
This tree looks like it's a bit close to the building. This one looks like it's got some rot. This, whatever you're saying. If this person approaches this house and says anything that intimates, I think your house looks run down,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I might be able to solve your problem. That's kind of the way the question is formed. It's an
Yeah.
old place that hasn't been taken care of. I wouldn't point that out. This person might have super pride of ownership, and they've
Exactly.
fixed the things that matter to them, but don't matter to the visibility coming out from somebody on the
No,
outside.
totally agree.
Approach them with another tact other than the way the question was.
Yeah, my brother lives next door. I want to live next to my brother. That's a great one. Matt, you want to add anything on this one?
Yeah, brother lives next door. And the only thing that I would add is that you want to have options for them.
Mhm.
So if you get a pre-approval letter from a bank, you know, start down that sort of path where that way, when you're having the conversation with them, they might be instantly offended by even the idea of seller financing. So that's where you come to them with options. You come to them with options and say, my brother lives next door. If you're ever interested in selling, I'd love to at least have the opportunity to have that conversation with you because I'd love to live next to the little knucklehead.
Yeah. My
You
little
know,
brother, my big brother, whatever it is.
exactly. Play that angle. And then they can say, well, you know, you can say it doesn't hurt to have a conversation. No ill will, would just love,
Yeah.
no strings attached, would just love to at least have the conversation with you.
Yeah.
Everybody tries to one call close, Mike.
Yeah, no.
And
Yeah.
listen, here's what I can tell your entire audience. You're not that good.
You're not that good. Not
You're
that
not
good
that good.
and not that lucky. It's a
Not
combination.
that good. The real artists of this recognize it's not a one call close. It's
Yeah,
it's
and to your
setting up
point,
the step for
to
the
your
next
point,
conversation.
to your point, I wouldn't even go in with options, right? I would
Okay.
just say, hey, my brother lives next door. We've talked about living close to together. I saw that you were home. I just thought I'd take a shot in the dark. And
Yeah,
if that person goes, no, get the fuck out, then you got your answer. If he goes, oh,
absolutely.
what do you think? Well, you know what? I'm not really sure yet. Can I take a poke around? I want to bring you some options. I'll be back in 24 hours. You
Sure.
gotta, it's a process. So
Absolutely agree with that. I think that 24-hour thing is important, right? Like you
Yeah.
just kind of caveated for people, but you're not going to get an approval in 24 hours from most places. So you're going to have that in your back pocket, right? So you
Yep.
can then, because then you can keep the momentum of the conversation,
exactly.
right?
Yep.
But you're hitting them the next time for the next thing. And then it's basically called closing on steps.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
what you're doing. You're closing on the next step and then the next step and then the next step. And then you arrive at a transaction being completed. It wasn't a one
Exactly
call
right.
close. It's closing is a process. It's not an event.
Agreed. Totally cool. All right. Next one from HM, some numbers. Great episode. Thanks. Question: when you're trying to get a good deal, what are the key tips? For example, should the purchase price be below market value, median value for the area? Does the property need to have tenants in place? Should there be an opportunity to increase value, garage conversion, ADU, etc.? Matt, we'll go to you.
Value add. That's it. And the value add can come in a number of different ways. I really don't care what the price of the house is. I only care what the price of the house is, along with the debt, along with the upside, along with all of these different factors. So that's why I build my rent box and I work backwards from that. If I know the rents are $1,800, then I can work the numbers backwards from that of what I can pay. If there's no value add there, i.e., I can't add floors, I can't do paint, I can't do the kitchen, I can't add an ADU, I can't add a a parking spot for an RV. I'm always looking to add value to the property because that's what better investors do. They make more opportunity from fewer deals. So what I'm looking to do in every case, no matter what the asset is that I'm looking at, I'm looking to better know my market, having done that work, so I know where I can add value.
Yeah.
So it's add value.
All right. Dion, your thoughts?
So at the 50,000 subscriber one rental at a time event, I use these 4 words to describe myself. And these are the 4 words I use to describe my investing strategy. Boring and not sexy. So I've never invested for value add because I didn't have the time or the skill set. Right? I was working, raising 3 kids. I don't have Matt's ability to find the cabinets at like a third of the price that are way better quality. Like all the things I've learned from Matt over the last couple of years, I didn't have any of that. I bought properties from the MLS with a conventional loan where I didn't have to do any work. They had tenants in place. The thing that I had was the binder strategy. So I could look at properties that had significantly lower rents and know, what do the numbers look like if rents were 10% below area average? Because that's about where we ended up every time. But I would look at doing the work. What was the area average yield? Can I find a deal that kind of beat that? So it wasn't the price compared to the area price, because you've talked about this in your updates in this last week. Home prices are crashing because people are buying smaller houses, right? It's not
New
because
home
they're
sale,
paying less
new
for the
home
house.
prices are crashing.
New home prices, right? Yeah, there you go, right? So I don't really care
Median's
about the
down.
price. We're still up 5%, over 5% year over year, Matt. So yeah.
I'm telling you, we'll do this in another video, but look at Fred.
Okay.
Existing home sales of median home sales price of existing homes is down 8.1%.
I still want this data. I don't care about median and I don't care about average. I want to know the mode. I want to know, take out the outliers, take out the Elon Musk buying this or that or whatever is happening in the world, of the homeless person because their house was what do you call it when the city says you can't live there anymore.
Red
Take those
tag.
out. What's happening to the most number of homes being sold at a price? So completely threw off the Emperor's Groove there.
That's right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So again, the thing that matters to me, it's the same thing. It's just I want a great deal in that market. That great deal may come. And again, a great deal for me is cash on cash return, return on capital, whatever you want to call it. It may be because I can convert a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom. It may be because I have I can convert a garage. I need to have a plan when I buy it, right? When I write an offer, I know what the plan is, right? That's that. And again, it has to be a great deal for that time or otherwise I don't do the deal. Yeah. So here's one for you too, because I've never done this from Gaucho. What are your thoughts on a mediocre house hack where the effective rent on the house like part of a fourplex is similar to a single family home? They are oversized units. I'm not sure there's enough in there to answer, but any thoughts? Dion?
I think
Or
you're
Matt?
right. I don't think there's enough in there to answer. Because I think at the end of the day, it really just comes down to the math. It really does. It really is, like Mike says, it's yield. Like I say, it's rock. It's return on capital. It's yield on the investment. The key is that if you're going to have to contribute something, the idea is, what is the market rent after you leave there from that bedroom, from that unit, from that fill in the blank. So, and that's whether or not you know to do a deal. I'm looking at another deal with a 26-year-old investor, and he brought me the deal and he's like, "What do you think?" And I said, "Here's what I would do, because when you move in, you'll be paying about $800 a month rent for your unit, and it's worth $1,500 on the market. And so you'll make $700 a month on the thing when you move out of it. But that's, maybe in 2 years, it's $800 or $900 a month in rent, maybe something like that. But it's more because the other 3 units in the building will all go up as well." And I said, I think rents are, largely speaking, as low as they're going to get. They might come down a little bit, who knows? But I think that when you look at that deal, return on your capital, $700 a month. I said you're $8,400 a year, and your down payment with the amazing Fannie Freddie package of 5% down his down payment's going to be $30,000. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. That's your math for you. It's going to put you right at, over 25%.
Yeah, I agree. Dion, any thoughts?
Well, there's two things to consider here when you talk about a house hack. The first one, and Matt nailed it with, what's it going to look like after you move out? Right? What's the return going to be? So if it's a mediocre while you live there, my first house hack, I paid to live there. My second one, I was paid to live there. So there's different versions of that. But once I moved out of both, they would both have a good return. They were a good purchase. But we're also talking about house hack, not rental hack. This is house hack. This is where you're going to live. And there are some people who say, well, it's just kind of a break-even deal. I'm not saving, I'm not doing anything, but it's okay. But currently you're living with your parents. Like,
Yeah.
you have neighbors next door, but at least they're not mom and dad, right? Or I've got a friend, Curtis, that lives around here. He was house hacking. He's buying another house hack, and he was trying to figure out if it was a good deal or not. His current house hack, if I got the math on this right, it's basically like a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, but he was living in one of the bedrooms. So he had a separate unit that didn't have a kitchen, didn't have a bathroom or anything. So he was using his gym and eating out while he lived there. And now he's moving to a house hack where he gets his own unit. So the quality of life improvement of this house hack is also a factor. So if we're looking at a mediocre fourplex versus buying a house or not buying at all, I think we do what Matt said. We run the numbers as if we've moved out. What does it look like then? And second, is this closer to your work? Is this in a better school district if you have kids? Does it have other amenities around it that you might enjoy to live there? It's like, because it's a house hack, it's where you live. That matters too. My current house hack is happening because I wanted to live on the water. I wanted to be walking distance from the ferries. I wanted to have walking distance to at least, I'll call them 10 restaurants, but it's 10 bars, right? This was my criteria for my house hack because it was where I wanted to live more so than equivalent to, was it a good deal?
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about this question is I didn't like the part about their big units, right? At least in my area, rent has nothing to do with square footage. In fact, they cost more, right? More to paint, more to clean, more to hardwood floors. So again, I would rather buy a 900 square foot 3-bedroom 1-bath that's laid out well than a 1,400 square foot 3-bedroom 1-bath that's laid out with dead space.
Agreed.
Just a fact. So I think sometimes people get lost in cost per square foot.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Unless you're buying condos or homes in like San Francisco or New York, or no one looks at real square footage. And Zoob talks about it all the time. And we've been doing this for 20 years. We find something that's a weird layout. We add a wall and create another bedroom. So if they're large units, you need to be driving towards bedrooms. So if like I got a unit that was 1,000 square feet and it was a 2-bedroom, what a colossal waste of space.
Yeah.
You add another 10 by 10 bedroom or a 10 by 12 bedroom, you take 120 out of that square footage. And I just made another bedroom. Yeah. That's massive. That's where you win because rents are driven off of bedrooms, not off of square footage.
Bedrooms, baths, parking.
Have you seen, I've not, in the Northeast, we have a huge problem. We have a huge problem with bathrooms. We have old homes that are 1,800 square feet with 1 bathroom. And so I've never seen in my market an adjustment for an additional bathroom. We always go in. Yeah.
On rent?
On rent. Section 8 doesn't pay anymore. Rent doesn't pay anymore.
Absolutely.
Units don't pay anymore. I see none of that because everybody's so conditioned that it's going to be a 1 bathroom. Even when we've added a half bath, no one even cares about it. Like it doesn't even make it like we see nothing. We see no
huge difference. I would see,
really?
At least $100.
Really?
Wow. Absolutely.
Nothing here. Nothing.
Especially if it's 3 or 4 bedroom. If it's a 2-bedroom, maybe not.
Yeah.
But a 3 or 4 bedroom where there's kids, absolutely.
Really? Yeah.
Certainly for cash tenants. Yeah.
Never see that bump.
Real estate is local. So what matters to where you're at? I've got 2 duplexes that are not too far from each other. One is a 1.5 bath. One is a 1 bath. Both are 3-bedroom. So 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, a bit far apart. One has a 2-car garage. One has a 1-car garage. The one with more bathrooms gets about $200 less than the one with the 2-car garage because in Washington, the weather, the rain, you want storage stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Place to park. So the bathrooms don't impact it as much as your carport or garage can here. So you got to know
thy market.
Yep. Huge.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. All right. Here's a good one. Question for the group. This is probably going to go to Matt first because it really kind of it's his world right now. Question for the group is, how do you practice your mental resilience and keep going when you're getting sued twice, have an IRS audit, family tells you you're dumb, you're crazy for risking your kids' future in houses, landlords are evil, and a lot of talk, yeah, just all that kind of stuff. So what do you think, Matt? How do you stay mentally strong?
Piss off.
Tell
I
me
mean,
more.
so literally how I stay mentally tough is they didn't make me, they sure as hell can't break me. It is what it is. You know what? Here's the funny story. I went to breakfast this morning with my wife. Couldn't
That's a
ever do
funny
that.
story.
Couldn't,
Oh yeah.
well, but I'm not finished yet, but that's the
Okay.
start. That's at least setting it up. So
Got
I
it.
go to breakfast with my wife. Couldn't do that before with my job. Couldn't, impossible. And so went to breakfast with my wife, bump into her best friend is there having breakfast with her parents. He said, "Oh, hey, how's it going? I know her dad. Dad's an awesome guy, retired from construction." Says to me, he goes, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "Hey, I finally retired." He goes, "No way." I said, "Yeah, we're retiree buddies." He's 74. 74. I'm 46. So what I can tell you is that I know for a fact, if you had said to him, instead of working 6 days a week for the construction company, what if you worked 5 for yourself, 5 for him and 1 for yourself?
Yeah.
What if you did that? He wouldn't have been retired at 70 hurting. He'd have been retired at 60, 56, maybe, who knows, but a lot sooner. And I can tell you, Dion always would say, "You're not even going to believe what it's like." You know, not even going to believe what it's like. No one's awakened me from a nap yet. I haven't gotten into the nap pattern yet,
Oh,
but
it's
I
awesome.
will. I will try. I'm going to try. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, why do people, I find that far too many people care far too much about people that don't matter.
Yeah.
Why do they matter? Like, why do they matter? The only one that mattered was my wife.
Yep.
I didn't do deals that she said, asked me not to do. And now we drive
Exactly.
past them and I remind her that they're $1 million deals. Like, yep, that cost us $1 million. Yep, that one cost us $1 million too. I love you. I love you forever. Cost me $1 million. Cost me $1 million. I said, there's no other woman in the world that can cost me millions of dollars that I'd still love, but I still love you.
There you go. Yeah. Dion, any thoughts when you have friends and family tell you you're an idiot, you're a scum, you're a leech, parasite, all those words?
So recently I did a video on how to deal with stress. And I made a quote that actually irritated Millennial Mike, because Millennial Mike says this all the time. And so as a veteran, as a combat veteran, as somebody who worked in law enforcement, anybody who's been in those kind of environments will say this sentence. Okay, and this is a problem. They will say, if nobody's trying to unalive me, how bad can it be?
Unalive me.
Right.
All
Well,
right.
try to be nice for the YouTube, but right.
Yep.
So like if somebody's suing Matt, they're not shooting at him.
Yeah.
If somebody's calling me a leech or a parasite, I'm like, yeah, it's great, rents due, whatever. I'll pull Jesse Lee out of there and say his thing. But that stress is going to happen. And so the mistake is the service member, the combat vet, or the law enforcement person saying, well, if it's not this bad, how bad can it be? And that stress can kill you. That's why we have 22 people making a decision every day that they shouldn't, that permanent decision. And we have to be aware that that stress is there and it's real. And here's something I learned working at the CDL school. We had a lot of service members coming through, and I went to the American Lake VA Center for about 3 years and developed a program for teaching post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury people how to learn, how to retain, how does the environment of learning benefit them. And what we found is the people who were never in the military, who were never in law enforcement, the passing rates went through the roof. The happy, the reviews, everything, all the things that we did to make it better for that person who has issues, made it better for everyone. So if you're in this and you're thinking, this isn't stressful, I'm only getting sued, it's just money, I can resolve it. I would do some research into how do people deal with extremely stressful situations? What is a breathing exercise? Have you ever done one? Right? And use that in your normal everyday, and things will get a lot easier. So for me, when it comes to dealing with the stress of the hate and everything, I take it to the extreme of it. It's not as bad as it could be. And I sit back and I go, yes, this is kind of stressful. It's irritating that I have a sister-in-law I can't talk to because I'm an evil person who only thinks about money. And because I thought about money for a while, I never have to think about money again.
Mhm.
I can just sit back and use those stress, what do you call them? Tools that we use against stress on those elements of the investing that you're not going to avoid. Somebody's going to hate what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I would tell somebody like this is, life is hard, choose your heart. And again, I'm getting really big on this fire your friends. If you're in an environment where your friends are throwing little barbs at you because you want to better yourself, fire them. Just fire
Mock
All right.
them for a while first.
them. Not my thing. Just cut them out of your life
Totally.
altogether.
Yeah.
So much easier. All right, here's a question from Chris Webb. After watching Coach Carson and the ADU guy interview, the new build option actually seems like it will be less of a hassle over the next few years. Is this a play any of you would consider over the next few months? Dion, you're doing a pretty heavy lift. Would you ever consider a new build?
So that's got my reaction right there on his face. Sorry about what my face did, Matt. I think it's municipality dependent, right? Get a hold of the contractors in your area and figure out what is the permit process here. What can I expect? And if that's your goal, I don't know that I would do it while working full-time raising 3 kids. Right. And now that I've retired, I've done a burr and realized I don't ever want to do this again. I'm not going to do it. I don't care. This is it's creating out of thin air $250,000. $250,000 that didn't exist a year ago is now mine.
Yep.
I will never do this again. I wouldn't do it if it created $4 billion. It's not worth it. Financial freedom means time freedom to do anything I want. This has been 7 months of, and this is what I don't like to use strong words, but hate going to my government and begging for permission to spend money to upgrade the property that I'm already paying for and paying taxes on. No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with that, yeah, I think it's a great strategy.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think?
Doesn't work in my market at all.
Yeah.
So to build a triplex or a quadplex, I'm 270 to 300 a door. And to buy a duplex, I'm 300 a door about, but there's land, there's the surveying, there's the architecture. Before I move a grain of dirt, I'm 50 G's before I move a grain.
Yeah.
So it largely speaking, that doesn't work. Where that does work is more rural areas. The other thing too is that ADU guy, Derek, amazing. Love the guy. Brother from another mother. Watch his stuff. He's fantastic. He's doing all the work. Unless you're planning on putting on that belt and, getting a sewer camera and, all these other and going through all the approvals and marking utilities. And yeah, you think what I talk about is tough. Mine is the vanilla and the gateway drug to what he does.
Yeah,
because,
you're a 5th grader and he's a PhD student.
Because I can do it at that level, but I know that almost no one's ever going to want to do it at that level. It's like existing property rehab, awesome, because anybody can manage and do that. But new builds, building an ADU, prepare to go insane. How was your process, Mike?
Well, I stopped it.
Yeah,
because
so awesome. You quit.
Very
expensive. It was awful. Yeah. And it doesn't make sense, right? Because there's all these new regulations and, all these things that you have to do and Energy Star homes and blah, 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 blah.
Fire
Fire suppression systems. Oh, yeah.
There's 2 things.
Solar, everything. Go ahead, Dion.
Matt, you were talking about how much money you spent before you move a shovel load of dirt. The study was done nationwide. You know what I hate these, but median expenses before you move a shovel load of dirt? 97,000.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. I would not have guessed that.
So it's 97,000. And then the second, the rabbit hole I was in when I found this was in San Francisco. They tried to make a public restroom.
Yeah, I saw that.
$1.7 million. And somebody said that's very expensive. How about this? We'll donate the whole thing. We'll do the build. We'll buy all the products, everything for free. We'll cover every expense. You know what it was to do it now? $1.3 million, because that was the cost of the city planning and all of the things you have to go through to be able to build a free donated public restroom. So it's location specific.
All right. One question from Tim. One more. What did you learn in your W-2 job that greatly helped you in your real estate career? We'll go to Dion first.
So, I mean, I learned so much running a CDL school, managing people, it's educating myself on sales, NLP, like all the things that it comes into dealing with people. And so I could reference 1,000 things, but here's the one thing I learned that I think I'm really going to take away the strongest. I've seen some people say, I retired at 21 or I retired at 25 because they made a company and it blew up. It was whatever you call it, a starter and a startup.
Mhm.
And it did really well. So they retired and they absolutely don't know what to do with their life and they're bored to tears. And so they're going to go find some purpose. Here's what I took away from working and starting investing when I was 40. Being trapped as a wage slave for decades means that financial freedom has opened up the world to me, that there is no level of boredom or insanity that would make me consider getting a job again, versus if I were to retire very early in life before you realize how much life can suck when you have to work for decades with a boss, with customers, with coworkers, having to conform your political and ideological views to the people around you so that you can keep your job and have that income, how much life sucks. That if you start retiring early in the investing process really young, like 18 to 25, and you achieve it within 5 years, I don't think it's going to matter as much to the person who's 40 or 50 who escapes a life that they hated for as long as most of us do at that age.
Yeah. Anything you learned, Matt?
Hire fast, fire faster. I've
Oh, I
tried
like that.
far too long to make excuses for guys to keep their jobs for them.
Yeah.
Not interested. Hire fast, fire faster. And, you know, we've always hired pretty quickly. One of the things that we were just really bad at was firing quickly. Just because I was like, you know what, let's just give him another chance. Let's just, you know what? I looked at the last 10 times I was in court. Every single one of them was me doing someone a favor.
Oh,
So,
I know. I
so the
know.
person that I've chosen to do the next favor for is myself. The answer is no. You suck.
Yeah.
You can't live
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, the
That's the
biggest
answer.
L, the biggest, I'm doing my taxes for 2023 right now. And the biggest L I took last year was one of the people I tried to help, right? If you go back a couple of years, I talk about this tenant in a single family home that I bent over backwards for. I made exceptions. You know, I felt like I was doing the right thing for that person
Yep.
during the pandemic, right? And I got screwed over left, right, and center to the tune of almost 40 grand.
Yep.
Yeah. So another lesson to self. Sometimes you know, doing the, it was just a bad L. And another reminder that, yeah, you get punished for sometimes doing
Yeah.
a favor.
Hire fast, but fire faster. We get, you know, dumped on because we're landlords and everyone thinks we're money hungry. We have financial responsibilities on those assets.
Oh,
And
yeah.
at the end of the day, we hold people far less accountable than we are held. That's a fact. The bank holds us far more accountable than we hold our tenants accountable. And so at the end of the day, I've decided that I'm going to give myself the break next time and say no.
Yeah, the biggest thing I learned from my W-2, because again, I've been very clear. I was raised to be an employee, climb the corporate ladder, get a lot of education, you know, become a VP, SVP, CEO. That was the track I was on. What I learned probably about 10 years in is I looked up the organization chart. Like, so I was a first line VP and I was looking up at the SVPs and EVPs. And I realized when I asked myself, did I want their life? And the answer was hell no.
Hell no. Mm-mm.
Hell no. What? No. Hell no. That was a great wake up call. I stopped trying to climb the corporate ladder. I cut expenses, busted my ass to make as much money as I could and buy assets because I didn't want to be the SVP or the
That's right.
EVP or COO or any. It's like, no, thank you, sir. That was
Yep.
eye opening.
I reported to owners and I reported to COOs.
Yeah.
And they were just like, well, one day you'll have my job. I was like, bite your tongue.
Yeah, no chance.
Absolutely not is my answer. Nope.
Yeah. All right. How do I convince people in my market seller finance? A few years ago, there was a guy who came through and bought a lot of properties with seller financing. Well, he took the rent and never paid any property taxes, then skipped town. Now those people's trust is broken. How do you rebuild trust? I am local and own units already. Dion?
Change your circle. The idea that somebody pulling a scam has impacted every property owner is a really microcosmic view of a macroscopic reality. The people out there that have never heard of this guy, that have never heard of seller financing, that have been probably told by their agent that it's illegal because the agent thinks you're trying to skip out on the agent commission. it's a much bigger pond that you're fishing in than you're thinking. And you might have heard of that scam and you might be impacted by it, but I guarantee that there's a significant large percentage of the people in your area that have no idea that happened.
Yeah. Matt, any thoughts?
If you're getting that rebuttal consistently, yeah, sure, change the market a little bit. But the other thing that I would do is I would have a frequently asked questions sheet. That's what I would do. I mean, I would just nip it in the bud and say, hey, these are the concerns that other people that we've done these things with. These were concerns that they had. So we put them in there. The other thing too is what Zoob did really well with borrowing money is he had references. He had built-in references, right? And people will call that reference. You say, what was it like? Did he pay on time? Yep.
Yep.
Did you ever have a problem? Nope. Anything else? Any other questions? You know, and that's what makes it really easy. Why do you think banks give people the money that don't need it?
Yeah.
Because they're familiar. They have a relationship. It's relational. You know, I can call my bank tomorrow and say, I want to do this project. And they're going to be like, what, really? It's like, yeah. And they'll say, we really don't like it, but okay.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. It's relational. So if you're getting that often, yeah, I would expand the circle. But if you really want to stay where you are, have frequently asked questions, recognize, anticipate, be a good business person, anticipate you're going to get those questions and have good, solid, bulletproof answers that are verifiable by them.
Yeah, you know what? I would actually go one step further and I would turn a perceived weakness into a perceived strength. And I would say, hey, I remember, so-and-so Joe Blow did all this, totally ran a scam. You know what I do? I'm different. I'm going to actually escrow taxes insurance.
Yeah.
It's going to be a quarterly report that you get emailed from a third party to show you that this is done. I would turn it into a strength. And oh, by the way, I would probably go in and say that cost me some money to set up. So I'm going to need a little bit lower discount, right?
Yeah.
I would make it an
strategy.
absolute strength
Yep.
by adding, perceived and really, folks, setting up an escrow account to pay all these things, it's nothing. That's how I would make it a perceived, and I would stand out from the crowd because all these other losers, they're going to just scam you again. I'm the only one investing in an escrow account and blah, blah, blah. So I would just mow everybody down.
Yeah, for sure. Show them that you have accountability that's not personally
it's somebody else, third party
enforced, but third party enforced.
Yeah. And again, a weakness is a strength. That's the beauty of sales is everything. If you look at it the right way, can be a strength versus a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Little hate, little spice. Millennial Mike always loves to do this to me. So here it is. Get ready. Mm-hmm. These guys are a little out of touch, in my opinion. They bought their portfolios during the best time in history to purchase real estate and are reaping the rewards. That's great for them. What they don't talk about is the invariable upcoming down cycle and can't fathom the desperate situation many will be in. They can't relate anymore. Yes, rent would be less than the person's mortgage. It won't matter if they don't have a job and can't make a mortgage payment. Alternatively, they could sell the house and have hundreds of thousands on hand to get them through. Also, Mike, you want to revisit your 50-year spreadsheet and check, and a lot of the data is not accurate, at least according to the sources you have cited. So I'll deal with the last part. Why don't you guys deal with the first half? We'll go to Dion first because I saw him take a drink, so he's fired up.
Well, it's just entertaining. I mean, obviously, this is a cross-pollinating Crash Bro viewer.
Of course.
And while housing is absolutely unaffordable, 4 million people bought one last year. So just not this person. Half my portfolio was purchased after 2020. I don't know if people are aware of that or not, but I'm currently house hacking in 2024. And
a deal you closed in 23. You closed that
deal
in 2023.
last year. I'm house hacking now, so I've had it since last year. There's never been a time where people said this was an easy time to buy. Now, in retrospect, people say that was an easy time to buy at any point in time. But we had 2008, peak prices. Then we have a crash where everybody was screaming double dip recession. And I'm basically going to give a Zuber account of the last decade, right? Mm-hmm. 2013 prices started to go above 2008. So people said it's unsustainable. It has to crash. 2015, we had the first iteration of the silver tsunami. 2018, interest rates went above 6%. And nobody can buy a house when it's above 6%. And I bought a duplex that year. 2020, we have an eviction moratorium, a pandemic, forbearance, 2021 forbearance is ending, 2022 interest rates triple. Like every single year, there's a reason not to buy. And every single year, the person who buys 3 or 4 or 5 years later thanks themselves. No matter what year you look at. If you purchased in 2008 at the peak, wouldn't you love to buy a house today at 2008 prices?
Yeah. All right, Matt, what do you think?
I'm retired. Neener, neener, neener. I don't know any other way to put it. Time in the market beats timing the market. And as far as all of my expansion came, pretty sure it didn't. But you should watch the channel more because you're ill-advised and uninformed. Because I started buying in early 2000 around the .com crash. And then I bought through the Great Recession. And then I bought through the pandemic. And I'm still buying now. So at the end of the day, time in the market beats timing the market. And you know what? Then Warren Buffett's just the luckiest man on the planet. And Jeff Bezos' ideal is still stupid. And Bill Gates sucks. Now, while I might agree with Bill Gates sucks, he's still the inventor of the platform that basically all of us use. So at the end of the day, you didn't make me, you can't break me. I feel bad for you because the only person that you're limiting is yourself, not me. Do you think I'm going to listen to some YouTube troll? Wrong. You don't know me well enough. So I would encourage you skill up in something and start doing something. Maybe it's a small business. Maybe real estate isn't for you. But for me, I wasn't so arrogant as to believe that I was smarter than everybody else in the world. So 90% of people become millionaires with real estate. Yeah. So I'm going to do that because I'm probably not the next Zuckerberg.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things, and I'll get to the spreadsheet in a minute. It absolutely is time in the market. You've got to own assets for a decade. You're not going to get wealthy in real estate in a month, a quarter, a year. The other thing I will say about this guy is this is why I don't deal with drunk morons in the parking lot. That's Dion's job. People like this. I almost deleted this comment because he just pisses me off, but I'm like, all right, I'll leave this and I'll ask Dion and Matt this. Just because I don't deal with drunk idiots. If you want to be broke in the parking lot, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Go ahead. I got lots of broke people in my, anyways. So again, Dion, God bless you. I don't know how you deal with morons and idiots like this, but it is what it is. Let's deal. Yeah, you drink. So now let's talk about the spreadsheet. So I've heard a lot. It looks like the Crash Bros are starting to attack the 53-year spreadsheet because they know it called them out for being morons and idiots. And it allowed me to make calls that are extremely accurate in hindsight. So I'm getting more and more comments about this spreadsheet, and they're clearly coming from trolls, from Crash Bros. Here's the deal. I cite all my sources.
That's right.
You can check them all out for yourself. Many of you said you have checked out the source like this guy did, and the data's wrong. Well, hey, moron. I chose to take December price data. You're looking at January price data. The data that I sourced has 12 months. In a spreadsheet that you don't want to make overly complex, I had to pick a month. And oh, by the way, it's the same month for 53 years in a row.
Right.
But if you want to get your testicles in a knot because you don't understand January and December are different, that's on you. That's not on me. So the spreadsheet is accurate. It is sourced. The months are identified. If you can't read, that's your problem, not mine. Folks, that was a lot of fun. Matt, any closing thoughts?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Instagram. Excited to get going on these projects. I'm supposed to be talking with the town on the jail project and grabbing some permits. So excited to get that rolling. And man, it's going to be a busy spring. I don't know what I'd do if I had a job.
Well, you don't have one anymore. So congratulations.
It's true.
Dion, what about you?
2 things about Matt really quick before we wrap up here. The first one is just silly. I want to play a drinking game in the future. Okay, and I'll play along with you if you're watching our videos in the future. Every time Matt says, at the end of the day, we have to take a drink.
Oh,
Second, am I the only, this is the question for the people who made it this far in the video. Am I the only one that noticed that on his second day of retirement, Matt looks 10 years younger?
Yeah.
You look, no kidding, like I would card you if you came into a book.
Yeah, you look so relaxed. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good.
Dion, where can they find you? Sorry.
Right here on YouTube, making fun of all my friends. Dion Talk Financial Freedom.
Folks, and do yourself a favor, check out the 53-year spreadsheet. I'm actually meeting with someone on Sunday to now look at the 54 for your spreadsheet because we are putting in the data. Again, the sources are there. Double check for yourself. But realize when you are building a spreadsheet that you want to be valuable and simple, you have to make some choices. So I have chosen sometimes January, sometimes December, like January 1 or December 31st. If you want to poke at the spreadsheet and say, hey, look, July is different, that's on you for being a moron and not understanding the spreadsheet. So folks, have fun. Take care. It is the Three Amigos. Later.
Ciao.